People in the round table. Three of us are on video. And let me first start out over here with Mr. Matt Hoskins. How are you, Mr. Matt Hoskins from Warsaw,
Good
Indiana?
morning, everybody. Hey, ProTech Land.
Our special guest. He is sitting up there in Warsaw, Indiana, and about probably as the crow flies, I don't know, what, 0.7 miles across a field, and is Mr. Brian Linke. How are you, Brian Linke?
I can tell you this. I'm really, really good. I'm so nervous though that we've got Mr. Hoskins on this call. I'm just not even sure I can do it. I'm gonna stammer my way through.
Luckily, we don't see the puddle on the floor because we don't see his bottoms. That'll make sense in a few minutes. And on the phone, having technical difficulties on his first time from home in the heart of the Rockies, where marijuana is legal, and well, the dispensaries are open and nothing else is. There is Mr. Danny Shard. How are you, Danny?
Good morning, everybody. High Five Nation. Welcome. Yes, they are. Marijuana dispensaries are still open, but you just got to go to the parking lot, apparently. So that's it. We're still doing it.
World. The wonderful world.
The wonderful world.
All right. All right. In that, I'm going to stop my video, just share your guys' video here. And if Danny is able to figure out how to get on video, we'll show him at some point. But over here in Indiana, we're going to talk about 5 different topics today. We are talking about all things from a quote from the Walmart EVP that I think is hilarious. We're going to talk about Cameo.com. If you've not ever looked at Cameo.com, you should go right now. We're going to talk about NFL and retiring at age 30, our favorite types of pizza, and we have a wonderful quote and how it works with business at the end here. But let's start with this quote, and I'm going to bring it up on my screen here. Let me see if I can do that. All right, so the guys can't see it, but I can see it. It says, the fact comes from the Walmart's EVP of Corporate Affairs, Dan Bartlett, on Yahoo Finance Live on Thursday. He said, if one of your previous segments you were talking to about people with Zoom doing these types of conferencing, we're seeing increased sales in tops, but not bottoms. So people who are concerned, obviously, from the waist up. And I thought that was hilarious. It's a new way of doing business. We're doing it right now through Zoom, going to Facebook. We're able to push it through. But what do you think this means for society? Does anyone care what they're wearing on the bottom? And is Brian Linke really wearing pants?
Okay, first of all, Brian Linke is...
He's going to try to show us.
Brian Linke is not wearing pants.
Oh, he's got it.
Oh,
Seminole shorts.
I got the camo shorts on, but I can tell you this. Okay, so I read this question. I read it 10 times. I still don't know what it means. I mean, is it even a question? Like, what's the question?
Well, it's just the commenting on the fact that there are so many people that are now doing these conference calls. The video never show. You don't do a full body. There's not one of us that are going to put our pants and legs on here, and people do not care. So people care about, because look at my slick coat today, dressing up for the Friday frenzy that is here on the High Five.
yeah.
I really looked for a pipe. I don't own one, but I should.
I do.
I see. I knew if you weren't 2 hours away, I could have picked it up. But the fact is that at the end of the day, people are buying clothes to look good on the top and not on the bottom. Is that the new thing? How's this going to change business a year from now? As much as we're realizing that we can do so much through Zoom, through Google Hangouts, through whatever Microsoft's meetings product is. Does that change how we live? Do people just never even care about what they're wearing on the bottom and begin caring about, hey, I just have to get on the video for a few moments? What's business look like in a year? Do we think this totally changes how we do business?
Let's let Mr. Hoskins answer this first.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think, some of us have been doing this quite a while. And certainly, the whole top conversation versus bottom conversation. I mean, I'm guilty of it right now. I got, one of my favorite tops on. I'm a top guy, kind of like the V-neck thing, a little round neck type situation. Like Brian, I also am wearing sweats, except for their sweat shorts.
So am I.
Being completely transparent with everyone, which I might as well start now. I'm pretty sure. Oh, those are shorts. Yeah. Something similar. That I've had these same shorts on for, I don't know, 14 days, I think.
Oh, right.
And it's, you've been stuck inside. But, to answer your question directly, Nate, I think Google Hangouts, Zoom, FaceTime, while it's probably got a more personal connotation versus, the business. I think a lot of people do calls, one-on-ones over FaceTime still. You could probably check that out on the Apple website, but I think it's here to stay.
What do you think, Danny? You still there? I think have we totally lost Danny? Oh,
He doesn't know how to work it.
let's see. I'm just double checking on making sure he is he's jumping back in. It looks like he's got his internet up and running. So let me bring him in here as a panelist now. I had to reaccept him. So we'll see. He's there we get a little video. There he is.
Talk about the V-neck.
I got this figured out. Check out the V-neck, okay?
That V. Shallow V.
You get a haircut?
We're looking good. Yeah, so these are this is the Rona rules. You got to shave. I can't have the beard anymore. Literally, the wife made me shave this morning.
Look at that. Look at that smooth.
Looking good. Where that time you showed up to Indiana with a bowl cut?
Listen, we talked about it on the high five yesterday. We talked about the last time we had hair, and I said Matt Hoskins told me to buzz my head because I tried to grow the hair out and do the thing, and it didn't work. But only some people can rock the hairstyle like you do.
Looking good.
Yeah. It's Friday. It's the Rona rules. It's what I call them. So abide by them. Stay inside. Shave if you can. Get cleaned up. Hand sanitizer.
You got pants on, bro? We're just talking about tops and pants. You got pants on?
I saw that. Actually, I did have a pair of sweat shorts on this morning, but I put some blue jeans on just for this, even though you can't see me. So, yep.
So what do you think, Danny? I mean, let's talk.
Stay inside. Yep. Shave if you can. Get cleaned up. Hand sanitizer.
You got pants on, bro? We're just talking about tops and pants. You got pants on?
I thought that. Actually, I did have a pair of sweat shorts on this morning, but I put.
Sorry about that. We were echoing back in. I'm like, what in the world's going on here? I was trying to get the Facebook to look at the groups, and it just looped right in. Sorry about that, guys. You got to mute yourself when you pull it up on the same computer you're doing the Zoom in.
Does anybody know how to work this?
All right. So, Danny, how many people do video phone calls with you versus phone calls, and how much do you think that's going to change?
I would say probably 25% of my meetings are over a video call. I like seeing people. I like talking. Me, Matt, Brian, you, Nate, we FaceTime all the time. First of all, I think we want to test each other, make sure we're awake and that we're alive and we're not still laying on the pillow kind of thing. But I think it's going to continue going more and more, being more popular. I've been working remotely for 7 or 8 years now. So I'm pretty used to it. And I think a lot of it's going in that direction. I remember, I know we talked about Keith Olbermann and Dan Patrick back in the day on SportsCenter. And I remember these guys wearing suit jackets up top and like gym shorts or cargo shorts or who knows what Olbermann had on below. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, right? So same thing, same concept. And I think we're going to see more of it.
Business in the front, party in the back.
That's right. A little mullet action.
Mm-hmm.
All right, time for topic number 2. The question.
Did I get the answer then?
Well, okay, you said you didn't even know what the answer meant, but come back into Brian Linke. What is the future of business when it comes to Zoom? How much business will be done virtually a year from now, when hopefully we've overcome everything that's going on with the coronavirus? How much business is going to be going on?
Well, here's the answer. I think that obviously it's working. It's working for us right now. Or else we wouldn't be able to even function, I guess. But the thing is, though, with me as an old school, one of the oldest people in the office, I still think that one of the things at PayProTech, the thing that makes us special is the family type atmosphere. And we say it at every Christmas party. I get up and give the speech after Matt tries to outdo me, which he always does. But I think, again, as the older guy, and I it's one of the things that we preach, Danny and I both do. I know Jason Lee does. I know Jen does. Just a family style support kind of thing. And so yeah, I think it's here to stay for sure. I'm just not sure that Pay Protect is totally bought in on it. I think we'll use it, but for the most part, we're gonna get back together and get in the office and let's have some fun and make some money.
All right. So
I like that.
let's go question number 2. I'm intrigued at this. We're going to keep it moving here. How many of you guys had heard of Cameo.com before I sent out the email topics this morning? You guys heard? I know Brian said he had not heard of it. How about the other? Danny, you heard of it before?
I have not.
All right. Matt, had you heard about it before?
Heard of it, but I've never been to the site.
Okay. So I sent it out to them before. If you've not been to Cameo.com, first do yourself a service and go to Cameo.com right now. It is a site where people will charge $100 to $150, $50. I'm going to pull it up here for those who are watching on the live so you can see it. And you can have people record personalized messages that you send out. So the first one I see is Colin Mockery, the guy from Whose Line Is It Anyway? Debbie Gibson, the singer. New and Noteworthy, David Ramsey, the actor from Arrow. Jack Osborne of the Osbournes. Let's see, athletes.
Okay, I'll stop you there.
All right. So
I'm stop you right there.
I wanted to ask right there, I wanted everybody to choose one person they would do, what they would say for you, and who you would send it to. Brian Linke says he's got a good one, so I'm expecting fire from Brian Linke. What do you got?
I got me. I mean, how am I not on there? I mean, okay, if you look at the people that are on there, who 90% of whom I don't know, or actually never heard of, if they can do it, I certainly can do it, because I feel like I could come up with a message. But the good part about it is those messages only last about 30 seconds. So with my attention deficit thing, I can actually pay attention for that long.
Let's put you on the spot. Why don't you do one? Do a cameo for Danny.
Okay, well, no, here's the thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of stammering.
No. I need time to prepare for it, but I will.
Oh, you got to prepare.
I will do it. But no, I think all those messages are again, anything positive, especially in a time like this, in my opinion, is always good to listen to. There's Ben Higgins as I'm looking.
Yep, I was showing
the guy though that I think you wanna click on is Lenny Dykstra. He was the first one that when I went to the site, I clicked on it. And for people who don't know who he is, when I moved to New York in 1986, Lenny Dykstra was a center fielder for the New York Mets when they won the World Series and when Bill Buckner let the ball roll through his legs. And then he went on to play in the World Series for the Philadelphia Phillies, and then he became a convicted felon because he couldn't sit still and enjoy his life. He had to go try to, do all these illegal things financially, and he was put in jail. But if you have a second, click on him. And the other one I clicked on was a soup Nazi, because, okay, here's the thing. I clicked on him. If he can be on it, okay, I can be on it. Period. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Me. That's who I would choose. Me.
All right. And Danny Shar, did you look through there at all? Did you see anything that was interesting to you?
Just starting to look through here right now, just trying to get familiar with it. And you're asking if we were to create a cameo, who would we send it to?
Yeah, and who would you choose there? Anybody like anybody that was there that you quickly saw? I saw Andy Dick. If you remember him that guy was a crazy dude. I didn't know he was still around, comedian. I saw Carrot Top in there, all the Real Housewives, which I've never watched one of those shows. Apparently that's how you make money in those shows, is you do cameos.
Lenny Dykstra.
Lenny Dykstra, I like it.
Click on it.
This is like the celebrity JVB team on this thing. There's not a lot of recognizable names on here.
Yeah. Who are they?
There's Jack Osborne. I see Jack Osborne. There's the soup Nazi. I see what you're looking at, Bray.
It's just the best. I just was looking at it last night, and what I saw was the report that Cameo.com is having more people do it than ever. And I was like, really? What's going on with all but people are paying $150 to get Jack Osborne to record a message and send it. I did notice that
Scalabrine? Brian Scalabrini's on there. What?
Look at this one. Here's a good one. If y'all remember the crime dog, Fred McGriff is on here.
I love him.
Fred McGriff is on here. I'd definitely love to hear what he has to say. Oh, Brett Favre is on here. Look at that.
How much is he? What's he cost?
$250.
See, a little more money. I'm looking right here. Justin Holiday, Indiana Pacers, $40 will record a message of 30 seconds or less. He's done 28
Bruce
of these
Buffer.
things.
I think I'd like to get Bruce Buffer. You know, I think we all need a good entrance, a little pump up. It'd be cool to get Bruce Buffer to make one for us.
Dennis
I'd be down
Rodman
for
is
that.
charging $300.
What do you get, Nate? What do you get? Do you get? Is it just
Yeah, what are we getting out of it?
audio or is it video?
It's a video. Usually it's a video personalized message that they record and send to you, and then you can send to the person. So it's like a 30-second video.
Dennis Rodman is charging $300?
No, I just like to say, Madonna.
I'm getting 500.
Pretty cool.
I'm getting 500.
Oh, absolutely. Well, okay. Now, Danny, what do you say? We're going to go to the next one. The NFL, our sports topic of the day is yet another player. Brian, remind me of the guy's name. I didn't write it down. The lineman from the Dallas Cowboys, Travis Frederick, a Pro Bowl lineman, offensive lineman, 29 years old, retires from the NFL. That we have seen here in Indianapolis. Andrew Luck retired before he turned 30, just days, but before he turned 30. Gronkowski before he turned 30.
Gronkowski, yeah.
What does this mean for the NFL?
Yeah. Well, it's a nasty game. I think what it means is people are getting smarter. And you see a lot of these athletes that are prepping for the next phase, right? And the NFL, the NBA, whatever sport they're in, it's not going to be forever, right? So they're planning on their next phase, and the smart ones, I think, are getting out while they're still healthy. They've made a ton of money, and so they're like, hey, I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead. Something that I know Matt Hoskins and I are very bad at while we're at the poker table, but these guys, they're gambling as they continue as they get older. So I think they're being smart. For us as fans, it's not as great. Will we ever see like a Cal Ripken type of player that stays? How old was he? 42, 44 or something? Whenever he quit.
Nobody.
Will we ever see anybody that lasts like Tom Brady, 41 years old, that can take that amount of hits on his body? People don't take care of themselves the way that some of those guys did too. So I think it's the next phase of professional athletics. We're going to see a lot of people getting out earlier, and I think it's smart. But for us as fans, it's not as great.
So Matt Hoskins, does it mean anything that a 42-year-old, 43-year-old Tom Brady is still playing, and the generation before him is dropping down? Look at that! What's up, Bodie?
Bodie Jean.
We got a little Bodie Jean Shard here.
Let's put him in the NFL.
Yeah.
Bodie. What's up, dude?
We're just waking up.
Yeah. Me too, man. I feel you. Yeah. Say hi to Papertech Nation, buds.
He's ready for a slam dunk
Bodie
right there.
Jean Shard. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
He's the next national sales manager right there.
That's right.
Next generation. But Nate, here's the real truth. And this is going to be hard, especially probably for Brian, because I'm going to talk about some of his heroes here in a second. But the truth is that the game has evolved. Everybody's bigger. Everybody's faster. When you go look at like this combine and you see a 375-pound lineman running like a 4.6 40 or some crazy thing like that didn't exist 20 years ago. It certainly didn't exist. Start naming some names: Mike Singletary, Jack Lambert. Like, I'm just telling you, those guys are average at best in today's NFL. And that's hard to say out loud, but it's true. Like, those guys are a lot of the heroes in the past, and people that listen to this are like, dude, you're talking about my guy, like Steelers and the Cowboys of the old days. Like, those teams were great. Don't get me wrong. They were great in their era, but none of those teams could beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of last year. You just can't. Like the
I agree.
game has changed. And so what's
This is
happening
true.
is the body, the physics of the bang bang, especially in the trenches. Like Tom Brady and a quarterback, that's one thing. A kicker like Adam Vinatieri, that's in that same category. But the guys that have to, do this every single play and tackle, and the ones that are getting tackled, like it's almost impossible in today's game unless you're just a freak like Herschel Walker. He could probably still play, or you guys know this sport better than I do. But the reality is that the game has changed, much like business has changed. Into you have to evolve, and you just have to be smarter. Like these guys are, their entourages are getting smaller, and like to Danny's point, like all they have to do is find somebody that's halfway intelligent and say, okay, I'm going to give you my paychecks. You tell me what I can have on an allowance every single month, and I will do that, because I only have to do that for 6 years, probably only 4 years. But after taxes, let's say you do it for 6 years. If you're just halfway smart, every one of those people, regardless of their income, especially the mega stars, the ones that get the franchise tag, like it could be done in 5-6 years. And I think you'll see more of it versus the opposite.
Yeah,
I agree. I do.
I agree.
well, and
The
I
thing
think
about it is we have been, people forget this has been happening, for a while. I mean, Barry Sanders walked away from the game, years ago.
Great example.
Calvin Johnson walked away from the game basically in his prime as well.
let's be honest, they just all walked away from the Lions. That says more about the Lions than it does football. But okay.
But I think you've been seeing this. I think more people, especially in football, like Matt said. I mean, like, yeah, those guys like Dick Butkus, who's a Hall of Famer, Mike Singletary, Hall of Famer, Jack Lambert, Hall of Famer. All those guys, they couldn't play today. They're not fast enough. They're not big enough. They're not strong enough. I mean, these guys. I mean, that's why the other thing is that's why all these rules have changed. I mean, they put all these rule changes in so nobody would kill each other, right? I mean, I think we're going to start to see where they're going to go away from kickoffs, right? So guys don't be running, so they're not running down the field at full speed, and the collisions are fewer and far between. Punt returns, same thing. I think you're going to each and every year, never in a million years did a quarterback, like if you put your hand on him, was it roughing the passer ever, right? I mean, back in the day, Deacon Jones, and I know that's way before anybody on this call, but he played for the Los Angeles Rams, and his claim to fame was the head slap, right? So he used to come off the ball, and his hands were so much bigger and stronger than everybody else's, and he used to come off the ball and just slap you in the side of the head and just knock a guy silly and sack the quarterback. Well, okay, everybody knows today, okay, you do that.
Can't do that anymore.
No, you can't do that anymore.
It's qualified.
Right? You do it once, it's 15 yards. You do it twice, you're out of the game. So yeah,
Right.
and so everything has evolved, and I think, like Matt said, I mean, if these guys are half smart, and I think you hear more today, or actually in years ago, guys that are dead broke, because they did crazy things with their money. I think guys are just smarter today. We live in a world where it's just easier to see what's going on. You can Google anything, so I think guys are smarter today with their money, which is leading to, like, why in the world am I playing past 6 years? I'm a multimillionaire, and I can do basically whatever I want to do. So that's my answer.
Yeah. Well, and I would say this, guys, one of the things is that the NFL players, the athletes in our world, have a bigger platform than they've ever had. And so they're able to leverage that and turn that into something that's after their career. You see Tony Romo, who's making $18-20 million from CBS. He never made that kind of money in the league. Even now, I don't know that he at his level of quarterback, that would have been the top of his pay. He's making that for CBS. Gronkowski goes to the WWF, WCW, whatever the wrestling is, and he's getting paid millions of dollars to host WrestleMania and to dance like a amazing monster that he is. You're seeing guys like punters like Pat McAfee. We mentioned him the other day, and I follow him. He's in Indianapolis based, lives just a little bit away from where I'm sitting right now, and he is like touring that into a national radio show on 200 stations, hundreds of millions of people watching him on YouTube, creating content, and he's taken that and put that in a platform. Luke Kuechly is turning it into a foundation that he's going to do in philanthropic work. They're taking what they do and then moving it to the next thing. And I think that's part of what social media is doing for us, is suddenly you have a platform to be a person, not just a football player, to be a person, not just a basketball player. And I think it's going to go beyond just football. It takes football first because of the risk that these guys are taking. But I think we're going to see that in other sports too, that the men, the women in professional sports, mostly men, are going to take it and move on. But I think it's going to change how sports look like us. And 10 years from now, I think the NFL will look very different than it does today. And I think all the sports were, and who knows what this is going to do to sports, because it's a different world right now. And will the NFL even start on time this year? Will the NBA be able to finish their season? Does hockey even matter? Who knows? All those things. But any last comments? Danny, you got any last things on that?
I got one. I don't know if this is like just your thing, like you know a lot about sports, or that jacket's making you smarter. That was a really good answer. Holy crap.
It's just the jacket. That's all it is, right there. It's just this jacket. I mean, you got to put it on.
There was no stammering at all.
Like he knows everybody's name, like Kuechly. Nobody said it right. Nobody, the announcers don't say his name right. Nate nailed it on the first try.
That's exactly right.
That's
exactly right.
Keep the jacket on.
All right. Well, the jacket's staying on for today. All right. Last one. So I heard this quote on a podcast. It's attributed to Andy Stanley, who's a pastor of churches down in Atlanta, Georgia. And I thought it was a great quote, and I thought it has huge impact on where we are today. And the quote is this: "Do for one that you wish you could do for all." And he was talking about the situations that we're in now, and just not knowing what we can do, not knowing how we can help, feeling overwhelmed with what's happening around the world. The U.S. now has the most active cases and known cases of the coronavirus, COVID-19, and it's a different world that we live in. And so I was thinking of that. So when we take that and apply that in our life, how does that change us as businessmen and women, as people who are going out and helping out merchants, that are helping out our customers, that what we can do for one that we wish we could do for all? Who wants to go first and talk about how think about it? Brian Linke, you got it?
I'll go first.
All right.
I had to read the question 14 times before I even half understood it. But
that's different from any other question.
Well, I understand. The way I read that question changes nothing for me, because the way I read it, as long as you live your life, business, personal, whatever it is, and you lead with your heart first, your head second. And it's tough sometimes, especially in a sales job. And I've been a sales guy ever since I graduated from Florida State University in 1985. But as long as you lead with your heart first, and that's again, PayProTech. I finally found a company that I'm surrounded by guys. And that's how Matt Hoskins and I met, 10, 11 years ago. As long as you lead with your heart and you do for someone, you're going to do it for everyone. And I think sometimes it's not so easy, because there's some bad people in the world. But I think if you can live with, if you can believe in that and live with that, I just think you'll be a better person in your personal life. I think you'll be a better person in your business life. I think you'll be a better salesperson. And I think people genuinely, they see that. And, if you don't do that, in my opinion, people see right through you. And I think that's the biggest mistake a salesperson makes, is that they don't lead with their heart. They're all about the money. And, if the money is secondary and your heart is first, it's a win anyway. So that's my answer.
It's a great answer.
That's really good. For me, it's
what I do.
Looking at that, I had to think about it for a second, but it's, I kind of think of generosity has a domino effect, right? And so, if you can help one person, it's usually going to trickle, and it's going to continue on rolling for you. And that's kind of what that meant to me. I know not everybody has the the capacity to be generous. Really, you know, they're stuck in their lives, right? Whether it's work and family and, you know, money and whatever it is, you know, but it can mean so many different things, right? So what you can do for somebody that you wish you could do for everybody, it can just start with that one person, right? That you can do something for, small, big, whatever it is, and you're going to be amazed at how that domino effect just trickles down and sprinkles over everybody. So that's what that meant to me.
Let the people out of the elevator first. Okay? Don't go charging into the elevator.
Back.
Okay? Don't go charging into the elevator.
Return.
When the elevator opens, wait for people to come out of the elevator, then go into the elevator. I had to add that. Sorry.
That's pretty good, actually. I'll, you know, Nate, I'll let you have the last word here, but, you know, I'm going to break probably 2 out of the 3 rules that my dad taught me. He said, son, you never want to talk about politics, you never want to talk about religion, and you certainly don't want to talk about sex in a public setting. So I'm going to break 2 of the 3. I'm not going to talk about sex. It's not the reason I'm here today. But, you know, the problem with, to me, politics and or the government setting is not so much, you know, whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican or you believe in big government or little government, but, you know, government has its place. And certainly, you know, the smaller, in my opinion, that government is, the better it can be. But I don't even think government really has a choice anymore. And it comes down to this question, is because the people that, you know, you can say what you want, like, but you know, you talk about this, Danny, I talk about this with Brian, and Nate, you and I've talked about this as well. But, you know, just be honest and say you got lucky. Just say it, right? You don't have any special talent. You don't have any special, you know, like, I got the secret. Can I sell you the secret for $99 a month? Well, there is no secret. The secret is you put in hard work and you keep doing that over and over again. The next thing you know, you have some stuff. Well, once you have some stuff, especially if you have more than you actually need, which truthfully, most of us, especially Americans, when you look at other places in the world, we have way more than we need. But let's just stick to America and talk about it this way. In the current situation that we're in, which is an awful situation, like nobody wants to be in this situation. Nobody wants to, you know, you can't go outside. Really? You can't go outside? Like, that's where we're at right now. Nobody wants to be in this situation. But I guarantee you that there are, you know, I don't know what the percentage is, but there are people that can weather this for a long time. There are people that this isn't even a thing. Like, you just sit inside and whenever it's done, you're going to be fine. That's a small percentage of people. There are other people that are kind of watching it. Okay, I got this much. Maybe I could do 3 months. Maybe I could do 6 months. Maybe I could do 9 months. But if it goes any longer than that, I'm in trouble. And then you've got what I believe the majority of the human beings are worried about tomorrow or Monday
Next
or
week.
Thursday.
That's right.
Next week. And I'm going to tell you something. It's our responsibility to help in times like this. It's our responsibility. If you have more than you need, which is pretty much, you know, a lot of people, like, it's your responsibility. And here's the problem to me. And maybe, you know, Nate, you can correct me, have the last word here. But if you don't do that, if you are one that has more than, and you don't help your fellow person, not just in times of crisis, but generally every single day, then you leave it up to the government to have to step in and think of programs, which in turn creates taxes that they're going to take your money anyway. So you might as well get the gift of reciprocity, whatever that word is, and what generosity produces, as Danny was saying, like, just give, because you're going to give it one way or the other. And so keep government smaller by being generous in the first place. Right? That's what we have to do. And then Andy Stanley, who's a great pastor, you know, I'm gonna pick on the church for a minute here. Like, hey, church, you're not doing your job. Like, some are, good job. Most aren't. Find the people in your community, church, that need the help and do it every single day, every single week, especially in times like this. And then you don't have to worry about who the president is or how big government is or Crazy Bernie going to take over and take all your money? Well, the reason that Crazy Bernie is saying it is because people aren't being generous. And so what you do for one, you do for all. I think we should have to do it every single day. What do you think, Nate?
No, I think no corrections, just hopefully a little bit of addition. And as I was thinking about this, it can be so overwhelming in what we're going through right now. And you watch the stories, like, you jump into Twitter and you read all the stories of the doctors and the nurses and those who are caring for people in New York, and the overwhelming pressure. And you're just like, you feel like, how is this ever going to end? And you see the headlines that suddenly there are more cases in the US and it's not stopping. And we don't know whether we're going to flatten the curve. And is this a 3-month thing, a 3-week thing, or is it an 18-month thing? And you get overwhelmed. And for me, it helps me to refocus. When I heard that quote, I was like, my word, not only do I want to give, but I'm just going to figure out who's the one person, the one group that I can help. Whether it's right now, I'm going to choose to go to a local restaurant and buy some food, or maybe I'm going to take, somebody was saying they had friends who were nurses, and they asked what could they do for those nurses, and they said, just bring us a meal and drop it off outside, and we'll come out and pick it up and do that. Do the one thing that you can do to help someone, to be generous, to be kind, to look to the one and say, I can't take care of everyone. I can't fix what's going on in New York. I don't understand how to create a vaccine for this virus, but what I do understand is how to care for the merchant down the street that I know is struggling. And so I'm going to start a GoFundMe for them, or I'm going to donate to Charlie DeWitt's bar, or I'm going to, whatever that is, we're going to do the one thing. We're just going to keep doing one thing. And if we all do that, then we're going to see a difference. And the things that are out of our control are just out of our control. But our perspective for humankind and being able to take care of one another, that is what makes a difference. And man, I just love, what great answers, you guys. You guys were awesome. Bringing the three of you up. So we're going to end today. I just kind of switched up the order and made the serious thing the next to last. And I thought, it's Friday. I want to, start with something that's a little less important in life. Because these things are the things that are really important. But what I want to go to now is, what is your favorite type of pizza? Because Friday, I start craving pizza, because as a kid, that's when we had pizza, was Friday nights. We'd order it in, we'd get it from Pizza Hut in Lake Shop there in Warsaw, Indiana, and we would bring it home. Usually I'd have a couple friends over here in the neighborhood, just down the street from where Matt and Brian are living in Hickory Estates. I'd have several friends over, and we would eat a pan pizza from Pizza Hut. What is your favorite pizza? What type of pizza? And what are your favorite toppings? I know that Brian Linke is going to have some opinions here.
Okay. It's not an opinion. It's just a fact. Okay. Okay. Slice and a Coke. That's all I have to say. Slice and a Coke, right? New York pizza on a paper plate, cheese pizza, the size of half a pizza that you get at Pizza Hut, slice and a Coke, right? And I still think for $3.99 you can get that in New York. So the hands down, and there's not even a close second.
I knew that you were going to have that opinion. Tony Kornheiser always says that there is no such thing as New York style pizza. There's just pizza. And that everything else is just not that. And I always love that. Now.
The water. It's the water in New York. That's what it is.
It is. All right. Anyone else? Anybody gonna go for a little Chicago deep dish or a little anything else?
Oh God. Okay. Let's end this one now.
I love the wood fire pizza is the way to go for sure. Kind of burnt on the bottom. You got to have that. Brian, what are you? Are you just like a cheese guy? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the best pizza is a slice and a Coke in New York. So yes, the answer is, I guess I am a cheese guy. And normally it's not one paper plate, but it's two. One slice fits on two paper plates.
Right.
It's not even an answer. It's a ritual. Talking about pizza. Not
Yeah.
I just give
the act
you
of eating the pizza.
All right, Robert Kramer's chiming in there.
Sorry
He's
to
saying,
whoever's listening, like you didn't learn anything.
Yeah.
double slice stacked. That's what Robert Kramer says.
All right. What did he say?
Double slice stacked is what Robert Kramer says. I see that right now on Facebook.
Al's beef.
Al's beef, absolutely.
No. Bob Kramer is Essa Bagel. Okay, just know that. Essa Bagel.
All right, we've been another High Five. We'll be back Monday with more conversation. Can you do me a favor? If you are interested in helping us put some topics together, they can be serious, fun, funny, whatever they are. Put them in the comments wherever you're watching, whether it's on YouTube or on Facebook. We would love for you to be able to help us put this together. We're going to be here around 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific, every day, Monday through Friday. And we'll be bringing in some special guests. In fact, we know the special guest is on Monday. It's going to be Mr. Mark Beauchamp. We're going to be talking about some of the things he's doing. That'll be one of the topics.
Now I'm going to have a stomach ache all weekend.
Oh, just to keep him nervous. Absolutely.
You got Beauchamp coming in.
All right.
Sick on Monday.
All right, on that, for Brian Linke, Matt Hoskins, Danny Shard, I'm Nate Manahan. High five to everybody. Have a great weekend.
See you guys.